Well, good morning. It's September the 29th on a Thursday. And boy, oh boy, I've got two guests here today. I have, again, because a lot of people were asking me to bring back Andy. So I brought Andy and I brought in Robert today. And we're still working on the cameras. We're just two, three crazy guys here. We're still trying to work on these cameras. I do have finally somebody from Canon that's going to be doing a Zoom call with me that will figure out how to make these guys look brighter. Just don't know what it is. But anyway, I've got Andy and Robert here, and we'll talk to them here in a minute. But first of all, I want to talk today about, first of all, those in Florida. Our feelings are out there for all of you guys out there,
Definitely sending prayers support.
Yeah, and I just hope that you were prepared for it and that you took good care and that, you're still here. Because I hear there's a lot of people that died and I hear there's a lot of people that have been injured. So,
well, we have a ton of clients out in Florida. And
a lot of clients
sending us emails, texting us, telling us that they're doing good. They've met the high ground or they're headed towards high ground. So prayers definitely going out to Florida.
I want to talk about how the stocks actually went way down today, and they totally erased all gains from yesterday, from the session yesterday. And as a decline, we're seeing a lot of decline right now in Apple shares, weighed on a lot of the major averages right now. And the Dow Jones Industrial Average actually dropped 603 points or 2.3%. And then you have the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ Composite declined 2.59% and 3.29% respectively. So Apple shares fell more than 4% after Bank of America downgraded the tech stock to neutral from buy. So in other words, they're saying don't buy right now. And not only that, I heard something in the background that Apple was literally going to stop production of any other iPhones for a while. So there's something going on with Apple. So anyway, I want to introduce you to the guys. First of all, we got some things we want to talk about. And then I want to explain to you, since we're a gold company, how gold prices are doing fantastic as opposed to everything else in the market. But anyway, I'm going to introduce, again, you got Andy and you got Robert.
Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah.
So you guys, let me ask you a question. So gold now is one of the best performing assets of 2022, right? That's what they're saying right now. And I agree, because there are a number of factors that have weighed on precious metals. But as the World Gold Council points out, it's important to put gold and silver's recent price movements in a broader perspective. In fact, gold now has been one of the better performing asset classes in 2022. And it has outperformed U.S. bonds, foreign bonds like the S&P 500, foreign stocks, the NASDAQ, and the U.S. Treasury inflation protected securities. And the only things that have outperformed gold and commodities are especially oil and agriculture goods, and of course the U.S. dollar. What do you guys got to say about all that?
You want to go ahead and start off, Andy?
Yeah, sure. It shows that gold is an asset that in difficult times, in times of turmoil, in times of world conflict, in times of unpredictability, that it's going to hold its own. And that gold is very highly valued still by central banks, purchasing it all throughout the world. So we're seeing people turn it to gold as a safe haven asset because they know it's something solid, it's something tangible. And people see that the stocks had an incredible run, a 14-year run, but it looks like it's over. The stock run is over. We've had the worst year in equities, I think, was it in 70 years or 100 years? That's phenomenal. And it's upon us. The recession is starting to hit. You see it. Apple demand is slackening. Apple's the biggest company in the world. So if Apple's now starting to weaken, that really is telling you that the whole economy is under pressure.
What do you think about the dollar? I mean, look at how the dollar is rallying so high right now. In fact, the currencies of nearly every major economy, they've literally fallen against the dollar, from the British pound to the South Korean won. The dollar has been appreciating this year as world investors move money into the U.S. to keep it safe during these geopolitical and economy uncertainties. So the dollar is rallying really high, but like we talked about yesterday, it's destroying all the other currencies. What's your input on that, you guys?
You know, the biggest thing that I see right now is that the Fed, because of how risk assets are performing against the dollar or in relation to the dollar, it's that's why you're seeing the price of gold fluctuate, right? Performing over the past couple of days. This is why you see the stock market capitulating, definitely crumbling. And I think the Federal Reserve is going to have to make a massive, massive pivot. If not, it's going to allow the dollar to go haywire, go completely parabolic, and really do some damage to equities and other risk assets.
Yeah, no, that's right. You know, your purchasing power actually decreases, right? And in June, I reported that the average U.S. household will spend about $5,200 more this year than they did actually last year, and on the same consumption basket. And that breaks down to $433 extra in expenditures every single month. So your dollar is worth considerably less.
Yeah.
And so the purchasing power of the dollar, and I've been saying this now for years, it's being destroyed right in front of your faces, and a lot of you haven't even been paying attention to it, but I bet you're paying attention now, for sure. And, you know, I talk about the dollar strength and about the greenback compared to other type of fiat currencies. And over the last year, the dollar actually has been the cleanest dirty shirt in the laundry.
Good description.
Right?
Good description. Still very dirty.
And other fiat currencies, they've actually devalued even more. And the US dollar has strengthened so much and so quickly this year that it's now become a juggernaut, trampling pretty much every other asset out there. So in a nutshell, it will last as long as the mainstream thinks that the Fed can win this inflation fight. This is what it really comes down to.
I don't believe they think they could win. I think they know that they're losing.
Well, I'll tell you something. Peter Schiff recently said that Jerome Powell still thinks he can pull off the impossible. And a lot of people agree. And you can see this in the bond market, where yields indicate investors think that the Fed will do whatever it's necessary to bring inflation down. It will do so effectively, and it won't crash the economy, and Peter said that the markets are wrong on all accounts.
I agree. We've had 2 quarters of negative growth, technically the definition of a recession. And historically, when the Fed raises rates into the recession, that's a recipe for disaster. And we know they're limited. We know Powell doesn't have the balls to really raise rates, because that would make our debt so expensive that basically we'd have a total debt crisis. So I'm saying it here, Powell does not have the balls to do this. He does not have the guts to do this. Do you agree, Rob?
I just think the market's too optimistic right now. We're talking about the federal funds rate being increased. Nominal interest rates, real interest rates, are still negative.
Good point.
You know, I'll tell you something. The World Gold Council, I'm reading right here. The World Gold Council right now is saying that despite the headwinds, gold has outperformed better than might be expected. And based solely on interest rates and dollar strength, gold should have fallen about 30%, according to the World Gold Council. Meanwhile, negative investor sentiment drove heavy gold outflows and weak positioning in the futures market. We're talking about ETFs. So this put additional pressure on gold, and the World Council now argues that gold has held up remarkably well given these type of headwinds. I got to tell you all a funny story. I was talking to, I won't mention her name, of course, but I was talking to one of my clients this morning, and she says, because here's what happened. She goes down to her custodian, and she is in this room. And by the way, this custodian has been with the family for like I think 30, 40 years, a long time, right? And she tells them that she wants to liquidate her portfolio and she wants to turn it into gold with United Gold Group. And all of a sudden she has two more people in the room. It was like she was being hammered. And anyway, she said, I stuck to my grounds and I told them what I want to do. And she said they sent this young guy in, and I said, yeah, he's the one that was like going to be the end probably for you. And she says to him, he knew I wasn't going anywhere. I was sticking to my grounds that I wanted. And we're talking over $1 million here, folks. And she wanted this liquidated. And he says to her, he whispers in her ear after everyone left, and he says, if you're going to get into gold, get into physical. That's what he said. And she said, I was doing it anyway. But he's like, yeah, if you're going to get into gold, make sure you get into physical. What do you guys think about that one?
Well, number one, right off the bat, that's super intimidating, right? To have just workers of any custodian, any bank that you've been with for 30 years to try to intimidate you to stay within the markets, right? This is where people lack control over their investment accounts, over their retirement accounts. Because keep in mind, a lot of our customers, a lot of retail investors, they've never generated or created astronomical wealth. They've always followed suit, right? Play the stock market, play the bond market. It creates generational wealth. But when somebody has $1 million like your client and sees it, you said it was reduced significantly, just beaten.
Oh yeah, it went from, I don't even have the numbers here in front of me, but I can give you an idea. It went from $1 million some odd dollars to anyway, in one day, and that was just the other day, it went from like $54,000 in 1 month. And today, I called her. I said, did they get it out? And she says, I hope they did, because if not, then she lost another 3% today. And right now, the markets are just turmoil right now. And, the thing is that you don't have to take it from us. You can take it from all the others out there. Paul Tudor Jones, Peter Schiff. There's so many people out there that are literally telling you that the markets are going downward.
I mean, the writing's on the wall.
Math don't lie. Right. It just doesn't lie. And, with everything that's happening with this dollar, and I keep saying this every time you see me, many governments, including the United States, they go so far as to create and manufacture inflation. And the reason that they do this is it's a way for them to help them to depreciate our debt and destroy the dollar. And, Robert was talking to me about it this morning, and they do it by hyperinflation. You guys want to touch a little bit on hyperinflation?
Yeah, sure. We've seen hyperinflation at certain points in history, Venezuela most recently. And there's a really interesting story that it doesn't get publicized, but in Venezuela they had the hyperinflation because they just inflated their currency to pay off all their debts, basically, which is what's happening here now. But people in Venezuela were actually paying for groceries, for everyday needs with silver. People were exchanging in silver. Now you mean, well, why weren't they exchanging in gold? Well, obviously silver has a lower price, so it's going to be more suitable towards your basic needs. So if you have some single ounces of silver, you're going to be in a great position because you're going to have something that's a tradable asset that people will have. Nobody wants the Venezuelan money, and very soon, I hate to say it, people aren't going to want the dollar.
Yeah, listen to this, Andy and Robert. So if you had $1 million in the bank in 2015, because of the inflation today, you know how much would be in there?
No.
700,000.
Wow.
So from 2015 to now, that's how much of your currency has lost its value.
So that's relative to like purchasing power.
Purchasing power, exactly.
Yeah.
So think about, that's $1 million. Think if you only had $500.
Oh.
It's like your purchasing power is getting destroyed right in front of your face.
And that's how they control you.
Yeah,
That's exactly how they
absolutely.
control you.
Absolutely.
And
It's a big control thing.
This is part of what fiat currencies always do. They always get debased because they're not connected to anything, and they always get destroyed over time. That's why all fiat currencies eventually fail. And Ray Dalio says we're in that cycle now of where we're at the end of a cycle where the currency fails, where it's debased, where you have insane inflation.
So what would you guys do? I mean, you know what we do, but tell them out there what they can do. And by the way, our number is 800-753-8534 for those of you that don't know it and stumble onto our video and you're like, wow, what do I got to do to protect myself? Give us a call, 800-753-8534, or you can even call me direct, 323-380-5485. And just if you just want to talk to us and find out some of the news, give us a call. We stay on top of everything pretty much day and night. We're watching the futures because our clients are concerned about what's going on out there. And like the lady, yesterday at the custodian, her concern was that she's losing a lot of money in the account. And they are. I mean, they've got brokerage accounts, they've got IRAs, and the thing about it is there's ways that you can actually move funds from one IRA or a 401k or a 457B. Had a lady call last night wanting to do her 457B. You can call to get information on it. But you can actually move those accounts if you qualify and if they qualify. So you might want to call to find out if you qualify. Call 800-753-8534. But you can call us and we can tell you whether or not you qualify or not to move into what they call a self-directed IRA. And with the self-directed IRA, you guys know how they work. Go ahead and tell them how a self-directed IRA works.
Honestly, the first step any customer or client would need to take is making the decision that they're going to get their house in order and actually pick up the phone and actually call. Once doing that, it's very, very simple. I hate to oversimplify it, but it's really exchanging one IRA for just an IRA that has more options. Those options are gold and other alternative assets. I won't get into it here because we could be on this for
That's why they need to call.
Right.
So you call 800-753-8534 and you can call and you can actually find out what it is that you can go into. And there are many different things.
It's a simple pivot though.
Yeah, it's really simple. And guess what? You don't get taxed on the money that you use for whatever it is that you're investing in. So your money becomes, one guy told me, I don't like that word tax deferred. I'm like, why don't you like the word tax deferred? He says, well, because when I have to take a distribution, I got to pay my taxes. I'm like, well, you got to pay taxes. That's what this world runs on, taxes. Even in the biblical days, they had to pay taxes. Hey, listen, have you guys heard that, they're saying that this Nord Stream, that pipeline that was blown up, or the word now is sabotaged.
Right.
First it was blown up, first it was a leak,
Yeah.
then it became bubbles, and then it became blown up or sabotaged. Now it's sabotaged. Anyway, it's interesting because NATO is now coming out and accusing Russia. But I'm like this, I'm thinking, why would Russia blow up their own? It doesn't make sense. When they were ready to do things, why would Russia blow up their own Nord Stream? I don't understand it.
It's an inside job according to NATO.
NATO is saying, NATO's gotten nasty about it. I mean, NATO is now saying, hey, if we think you guys were the ones involved in it, and if we find out you were, there's going to be military action brought against you. I wonder what kind of military action NATO's going to do against Russia now.
Well, we have our demented, senile, puppet president on.
Be careful. We all know that Joey has a problem, and the problem is thinking. Listen, let me tell you. With Joe Biden, Mr. Biden, President Biden, I think yesterday he was on his podium, and I don't know if it was the teleprompter that was doing it, or if he just really forgot. I don't know. Maybe the person that's running the teleprompter has a problem with remembering things. I don't know. Anyway, he's reading something. I could tell he was reading it. And then all of a sudden he started asking for one of the representatives, Republican representative, that died like months ago in a car wreck, right? Car crash.
Yeah.
And he was asking if she was in the audience, and he really thought she was out there. You know, I've seen him do a lot of gaffes. I've seen him, you know, like put his hand out there for somebody that's not there, and then Miss Biden, Jill Biden.
But what my point was that what he did say, somebody had asked him
Many times, right?
No,
Oh.
he said no. You're totally right about that. He thought this woman who had died he was like, where is she? And she thought she was in the room. She didn't know that. But what he said about the pipeline, somebody asked him, you know, what are you planning to do if Russia invades Ukraine? And he said, you know, we'll shut off the Nord Stream pipeline.
Oh, he said that like a day before or something, right?
No, this was a while
This was
back.
a couple months ago.
Oh, okay.
They said, well, how will you be able to do that? He said kind of ominously, oh, we'll be able to do that. Trust me. You know. So what does that tell you right there? That
Well, you think that the United States might have had a part in that?
I think there's a strong indication with if Biden has already said we would do this, we would shut down the pipeline, and then says, you know, we have our ways of doing it.
It's going to put a hurt on a lot of people because I heard it's like irreparable. It's like destroyed.
But if it walks like a duck,
Like-
quacks like a duck, it's got to be a duck.
There you go.
Wah, wah. I got you. Well, here's some other news. So, South Korean spy agency. That's big time now. That's like CIA for Korea. In South Korea, they're now saying that a nuclear test is going to be done by North Korea. Have you heard about this one?
I haven't heard.
Yeah, this is breaking news. They're saying that a nuclear test is going to be done by North Korea in just weeks away. Interesting. There's a lot going on over there in Asia right now.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is
Do you remember also how all of that stopped when President Trump was in office? We didn't hear anything like that.
Is that why you're wearing that "Make America Great" hat again?
That's part of it.
Oh, okay, all right.
But we didn't have these issues. He dealt with North Korea. He dealt with Kim Jong-un, and
I think he even walked over into the zone and shook his hand, didn't he?
he did.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
You know,
Big old smile. He said, "Can I come over?" And Kim was like, "Come on over." I saw that. I actually saw that.
But somehow we didn't have these. I think everyone knows at a gut level we wouldn't have this situation in Russia if Trump were in office. We wouldn't be having this kind of turmoil because he knew how to handle these things, and people respected him, and he dealt with people. I think he dealt with countries in a way that there was mutual respect, and we wouldn't be having this whole situation. The war so far with Ukraine's cost the U.S. almost $70 billion. $70 billion we've already spent on this war right now. That seems like.
Well, what do you think about this? Since the numbers would have gone up today, but since Mr. Biden took office, his administration took office, the stock market has lost over $8 trillion.
Incredible.
$8 trillion.
It's unbelievable. That's a bunch of wealth.
But I always tell people it's not even real until you take control of it. All that is just numbers.
Numbers on a piece of paper, on a statement.
Right? Here, speaking of numbers, a convicted sex offender jailed again for attempted kidnapping in Chicago. Listen to this. Less than 24 hours, 24 hours after being released without posting bail. Without posting bail.
What state's this?
Oh,
Chicago?
Lightfoot.
Listen.
I didn't even know who Lightfoot was until Chicago came on the map. I really didn't. But when I look at her, she looks like a sunken in head. I mean, it looks like a pumpkin. Beetlejuice. Yeah, she does. Beetlejuice.
2 days back in Chicago, there was a massive, gang war that happened in the middle of a busy street. 71 shots were let off. 2 people died. 1 other person was injured. The 2 people who were shooting and killed the other 2 individuals were tried the following day. The judge said that they're free to go because it was considered mutual combat. Now, mutual combat is you and I agreeing to fight to figure out a dispute, right? Not shooting 71 shots on a busy street, murdering 2 people. It's unprecedented. Chicago, 71 shots, 2 people dead. Mutual combat. They're all free to roll the streets and do whatever they please. This is unprecedented. This is like a movie, a comic book. It's unheard of.
It just seems like Chicago, New York, even here in LA.
Yeah.
You know, we don't hear it as much in here as in LA like you do Chicago and New York yet, right? I mean, we see like mobs going in, and I don't know if LA keeps a lot of it quiet compared to Chicago and New York. I mean, but here we live in LA, and I don't hear a lot of it. Do you guys?
I just hear about the robberies.
Yeah, the robberies.
Never about mass shootings or massacres like
Not
New
like you're
York
hearing
or
in
Chicago.
New York and Chicago. I mean, in New York, I mean, what? They had that poor woman was in the subway, and that guy just started kicking her and beating her and throwing her up against a metal wall. And then people would try to come and he'd go after them, you know? It's like, I haven't seen that here. I just see where a lot of people are being robbed, but they are being robbed and shot. And it seems like the rappers are being robbed and shot a lot,
so the rappers,
right?
Yeah.
Stealing their jewelry and all of that sort of stuff. But
Well,
those guys are advertising it on the YouTube and everything too, right?
Yeah, I think what's a big contributor to this climate where crime seems to flourish is when you have liberal laws like we have here in California. And you guys can look this up. It's hard to believe, but if you steal less than $950, is it $950 of merchandise, that's not considered a felony, and you'll be let out. Even if they arrest you, you'll be let out, and you probably won't have to go to trial or do anything about that. I went up and asked a cop about this, and the cop said, yeah, we'll arrest somebody, but the DA is not going to prosecute that. The person basically gets out, and they pick another store, and they steal all this stuff. And stores don't want to confront a criminal because a store can actually be prosecuted if one of their security guards takes down a criminal. Believe it or not. So when you have these kinds of laws and you're basically just saying go ahead and steal, what do people expect when the society starts to fall apart and crime just becomes rampant? It's not that complicated. You're basically encouraging people to steal.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It's just crazy. You know, I don't know how long she's going to stay in office. I mean, to me it seems like she's been there forever.
Who's that?
Oh, Lightfoot.
Oh, Lightfoot?
Yeah, it seems like she's been there forever.
But Chicago's a very, very liberal city, and liberals seem to live in a bubble, a lot of them, that okay, as long as I'm fine, and I'm in my Martha's Vineyard, I'm in the Hamptons, I'm in Santa Monica, right? I'm in Playa del Rey, wherever your liberal enclave may be, you may feel insulated from this, and people talk about it. It's astonishing, but eventually it does hit home, and people realize, hey, look what's happening to our communities. They're shutting down this store. They're shutting down that store. We're losing our lifestyle.
Yeah,
losing our decency.
Andy, you were a school teacher. What did you teach?
Correct. I taught a lot of different subjects, mostly writing.
Like in a high school or junior high? Were you like in one of them schools?
I taught in a school that was technically called an adult school, but I had a lot of high school students in there who were making up classes.
So were these
These were not
were these like drug addicts and delinquents that were shoved into a night school?
Some
prisoners and stuff?
Some were.
Were you scared?
Sometimes.
Yeah?
Sometimes, but I learned that being direct and straightforward and being tough with them was really the best policy for myself and for them. And
how long were you teaching?
Over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you went and got your degree and you taught in these schools?
Yeah.
Did you ever teach like in a regular like elementary or high school or anything like that? Or did you always go for like delinquents?
I was mostly in schools like that, so I had a lot of.
So you like helping people?
I actually had a student who was a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, this was one of the nicest guys I ever met.
Yeah.
And he was busted doing drugs, and he was a very smart guy, very interesting guy. And it's funny, you know, because I taught in the inner city, I saw it in South Central LA. And when you get to really know the people of these towns, in these communities, you realize that these people, they're just like everybody else. They want to improve their lives. They want to move ahead.
So you like to help people.
Yeah, I mean, you really feel like I got to tell you, 95, 98% of the people are really good people that work hard. And a lot of them, I got to tell you, have conservative values. Believe it or not, they have conservative values. They want to build their community. They want to be able to build wealth and prosperity. So everything that brings us together here, building wealth and prosperity, having real assets, I found that it's a universal thing in people. People really want that. People want to make their life better, and they want to. Why are people flooding into this United States of America?
For the American dream.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? What is it?
Or to sell fentanyl.
Are we? All right. If we're such a racist country, such a terrible country, everybody's flooding into the country because they know there's a real opportunity here because the old American values are still alive in some places. They're still alive here.
Let me ask you a question. What would you say? Because we get, YouTube's huge. People stumble across, we see a lot of people. Listen, first of all, I want to tell you those that come in that like what we're saying. We're going to be saying a lot of this. And all you got to do is subscribe to the channel. Just go up there. It's free. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing some giveaways down the road. We're going to be doing a lot of different things. We're still learning. Like I said, we're going to actually be streaming videos inside while we're talking, and then we'll be doing all that as well. Kind of like when you're watching the news on Fox or any of the other channels. That's where we're actually headed, but we're just getting started, and this is kind of like a test for us, really, is what it is. But I got a question for you guys. Those that are on the fence or that are Democratic, belong to the Democratic Party, or haven't even ever voted, because I used to be one of those way back in the days. And then I got on the bandwagon. I started going out, campaigning, supporting, definitely vote. But what would you guys have to say to those out there that haven't ever voted, that are on the fence, that are Democrat? What would you say to the ones like, what would you do or say to them to get them to come on board?
Be your own individual, right? Don't get hypnotized by and I might get a shutdown. Don't pay mind to the socialist media that puts these false narratives in your mind. If there's a narrative that you see that you're questioning, don't agree with the narrative. Go ahead, do research, figure out exactly what they're talking about, and break it apart. Be the neutral, right? Look at the pros, the cons, right? Look at exactly what's happening, right? Don't just follow suit because you see it being pushed as a narrative, right? That's what I would say. And I'm the youngest one out of the room, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right. And as a
previous boxer, y'all, an actual boxer, that if he didn't like you, he just beat you up.
Bad anger attitude.
Bad anger. Now he's got 2 children, a woman at home, both very successful, and now he's changed a lot. That's for sure. He would have been in Andy's class. Well, listen. As far as like different media, social medias, whatever you want to call it out there. Look, we just want to get the word out there. We're gonna be very careful at what we say because we don't want to get knocked off this wonderful YouTube channel because there's a lot of great people out there to listen to it. And YouTube, we appreciate you for allowing us to voice our opinion. And again, we're not going to say anything that's going to cause anybody to have a heart attack or to go and shoot themselves or jump off of a building or anything like that. Right. We're going to just give you what we know and what everyone else is out there reporting, whether it's good media or a bad media. We just want to get the word out there, and then you make your own opinion. You make your own idea of where you want to go. But he's right, and all you got to do is just look at what's happening. I mean, come on, man. Who says that? Come on, man. All you got to do is look at what's happening. Look where we were 2 years from now to where we are now. If you're struggling to pay your bills or put that gasoline in your car, because let's face it, gas is going back up. It was just a Band-Aid that this administration put on, and it worked for a little while. But things, once you pull off a Band-Aid, it's not completely healed. You're still going to be feeling what we're feeling right now, and only worse, because they're continually causing the bleeding. And when I talk about bleeding, all you got to do is look from red to green. And when it's green, green means go. When red is on, means stop. And that's what the market's doing right now. It's stopping. It's red. It's hemorrhaging. So listen, again, our number is 800-753-8534. Guys, you got anything to say before we get back on tomorrow?
Just everybody have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, and God bless every one of you. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. Take care.
Right on.
We got to get somebody to figure out how to do this. I oops. All this stuff. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. And I know y'all can hear me. I just don't know. All right, we'll end the stream now. Boom. That makes fun. Yeah, I think we're still going. And there we go.
That was good.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah, really solid. Yeah.